Hey, it's Kamal Daniels, and this is the Peng Sports podcast. It is March the 17th at 7:24 a.m. It is episode 3. Excited? How you guys doing today? It is spring. The birds are chirping. It is mid-March. So half of this, most of 3/4 semester is almost done. Excited about that. But I have some good news. I have two good announcements, good news for you guys. We reached our goal last week. We got 2 views on a video. I did not say, I was expecting 2 views on episode 2, but we got 2 views on episode 1. So not what I was expecting, but we reached our goal indirectly, I guess. Also, if you guys look at the views, my parents watch the videos a bunch of times, so that's why there's it says 12 and 7. So you gotta love your parents for supporting you. But even without my parents, we were able to reach our goals. So I'm happy about that. Another good thing I saw was, or I'm hearing, is people are seeing that I'm posting. One thing I was sort of afraid of is people were not even knowing about the podcast. Every time I talk to someone, they say, "Oh, you're doing the Peng Sports podcast, the Peng Sports podcast, the PENG Sports podcast?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm doing this podcast." So people know about it. So next thing we got to do is for people to actually listen to the podcast. So that involves me being more involved on social media. Maybe, I don't know, if you guys have some ideas, put it in the comments. And this is also going to be the first podcast, Peng Sports Podcast, episode 3, that's going to be on YouTube. So now you can catch Peng Sports Podcast on YouTube and on SoundCloud. We're making moves over here, man. Making moves. So let's get into what you came here for, the sports. Big day tomorrow. In my opinion, as I said last week, the greatest annual competition in sports, I believe at least. For my limited sports knowledge, I only follow 5 sports: soccer, baseball, football, and basketball. But in my opinion, the greatest sports competition in the world, and that's March Madness. March Madness starts tomorrow. Who do you guys have? I got Gonzaga. I'm going for the record. I'm going for the undefeated season. I really wanna see an undefeated season. When's the last time that happened? Was it the 70s with Indiana? Another drought broken. I think the closest we've ever gotten was Kentucky recent years with Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns, Cat. And I must add, that's a pretty uncreative nickname, if I do say so myself. There really aren't any creative nicknames. What, Karl Anthony Towns, Cat. Okay, his initials spells Cat. Some guy was probably thought, oh, that sounds nice, Cat, I'm thinking right now. Any creative nicknames? Tyrann Mathieu, nickname's pretty good, the Honey Badger. But I just feel like we should have better nicknames today. The Slim Reaper, I don't think that's very creative. KD, Kevin Durant. They call him KD, Kevin Durant. Nah, Slim Reaper, I don't think it's very creative. KD's, of course, not creative. It's just his initials. We got players like Kyrie Irving in the league today and Steph Curry. I guess you can say Chef Curry, but that's not creative either, really, His last name's Curry, and it's Steph, so it sounds like Chef, so that's why you call him Chef Curry, But yeah, people like Kyrie Irving should have like a nickname, man. That's the one thing I will give the 80s. People always say the 80s were better basketball. I'll argue with that. But if you were to tell me nicknames were better in the 80s than today, then I would not disagree with you at all. Like the Iceman. That's a cold nickname, pun intended. Magic Johnson, Dr. J. I'll give it to you. The 80s have better nicknames than 2021s and 2020s and 2010s. I give it to you. You know, we need to step up our nickname game. Just talking about more and more, undefeated seasons. I like to see when droughts are broken. So like Eagles, when their drought was broken, that was pretty cool. Cleveland's curse when the Blues won. Triple Crown, you know, and that's sort of cool in my opinion. But also with March Madness this year at least, there's no Kentucky and there's no Duke, and that you could say that's because of COVID, and that's a valid reason why you could say that. But I would say that it's because I think in sports today, in sports 21st century with millennials and my generation, Gen Z, I think that the traditional powers aren't winning as much. When's the last time the Yankees won a World Series? 2008? See how the Lakers had to win a championship this year. Not a draft. You see how when's the last time the Cowboys won? When's the last time the Boston's won? Last time Boston won, they needed a super team too. Somewhat a new way of winning. The traditional powers aren't really winning because the traditional way of winning is out the window. It's being thrown out the window. You got to open up your third eye. Uh, you know, think about it. The Cowboys drafted Troy Aikman. They drafted Michael Irvin, and they drafted Emmitt Smith. The only person that they sort of got in their dynasty was Primetime. The Lakers, they drafted Magic Johnson, and they drafted James Worthy, which is a case of stacking teams. I looked it up, and James Worthy was the first pick in the first round, and the Lakers won the championship that year. And you trying to tell me they didn't stack teams? Yeah, you could say it was fair with the. I read it. It was a flip back then, which is bogus. At least today we stack teams. Guys get interview other teams, but back in the day they just totally just were doing it under the table. So even though, it was a different way of stacking teams, it was more under the cover, more discreet, paying off people. I just feel like there was some dirty stuff going on back in the day, with stacking teams. It wasn't the free agency thing where players actually had control. It was more the organizations having control. So if you ever want to tell me that that they didn't stack teams back in the day, I think you're lying to yourself. 100%. They 100% stack teams. If there's no way the Lakers should get the number one pick in the draft, in the 1982 draft, from a flip. Not the lottery, which I think is more fair, but a flip. I'm assuming the flip is a flip of a coin. If there's another reason, if someone knows what an actual flip is, do tell me. But I just don't want to ever hear this Heat were the first team of stacking teams. I don't want to even hear the 2008 Boston Celtics was the first case of stacking teams. The Lakers clearly were stacking teams in the 80s. Also, Kentucky also ended another team that was almost about to go undefeated, right? I want to get back to, sort of got off track there, so I want to get back to March Madness. Kentucky ended, Wichita State went undefeated, right? 1 year with Fred VanVleet. And I think Kentucky played them in the second round and beat them. And I think that's totally the SEC's fault, because I want to say, I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure Kentucky had to win the championship that game, or played the final days. So, they have the seedings out already, and so the SEC needs to take that. I think they need to make their championship game on Saturday or Friday to move it earlier, or they can change it to Selection Sunday to Selection Monday. But, I think the NCAA cares too much about their alliteration, you know. Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four. They care more about the Final Four than they do about the actual national championship game. And I think, and I always remember that. I always remember why is the Final Four being more hyped than the national championship game? The most important game is national championship. And in the national championship, hopefully, Gonzaga is playing for it, for the history, so I can see another milestone in sports history. I've been very blessed as a sports fan to see some of the greatest accomplishments happen in recent times, and that's due because it's not controlled by the league anymore. Like I just said with James Worthy, going to the Lakers first round. I think more teams have more control. More teams are getting more money, and this traditional way of, the Blue Bloods, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Celtics, the Lakers, that's going out the window. Now you see, as I said, the Royals winning Super Championships. You see the Cleveland Indians good. You see the Cleveland Cavaliers. You see the Miami Heat good. I think that's a good thing. But now I want to get into some Premier League action. Not a lot of big soccer stuff happened this week. AC Milan tied Manchester United in the Europa League. Outside of that, not too much outside the Premier League. Ronaldo scored a hat-trick, which is cool. I think he's better than Messi right now. I think he's been better than Messi for the latter few stages of his career. I think Ronaldo's been better, just overall. Maybe not the passing, but the main objective in soccer is to score goals, or football is to score goals, and Ronaldo scores goals. But anyways, I want to get into the North London derby. Arsenal beat Spurs 2-1. It was a good game, but it wasn't the game I was sort of expecting. I was expecting for Spurs to be more control the game a little bit better. And I was thinking that but they did go up 1-0, 1-0. And with one of the best goals of the season with the Rabona, Lamela nutmeg two people. The best Rabona I ever saw was I think it was Boca Juniors. Another Rabona. Look up Boca Juniors on YouTube when you get a chance. That's the greatest Rabona I've ever seen. But they went 1-0 up, and I was thinking it was over. I thought it was just one of those things. Jose Mourinho, they just had Arsenal figured out. They're gonna let Arsenal pass the ball, let Arsenal get the chance, but they know they're not gonna score. But in the end, Arteta's possession scheme and possession style, it prevailed in the end. And I think the better team won that day, Arsenal. Another thing I want to talk, just see your guys' opinion on it, is who do you think is going to win the Premier League next, Arsenal or Tottenham? I think Arsenal's going to win it. I think Tottenham's gate is about to be over. Unluckily, they had to face one of the greatest Liverpool sides and one of the greatest Man City sides. So, in the Premier League, I think it's going to be a fall off. But Arsenal, with Smith Rowe, Saka, if they can get Odegaard, Tierney, Cedric looks good. They're building a culture in Arsenal. Arteta didn't even play Aubameyang because he was late or he, I don't know, disciplinary reasons. That's what I hear. That's building a culture, even though, it may not look it, but that's building a culture. They have a good center back and Gabriel. The only thing that they're really going to I think they need to change for the future is, or prepare for the future, is when they lose Aubameyang, when he retires, because he's getting up there in age. Overall, I think if I were to put money on it, who's going to win the Premier League? But first, I'm going to say Arsenal. The whole Premier League, yeah, I think Spurs are going to be contenders more recently, but I don't think they're winning. But over who's going to win the Premier League, I got Arsenal. In other games this weekend in the Premier League, West Ham lost to Manchester United, which I don't really like the term good losses, but you expect for West Ham to lose that game. You don't expect for West Ham to win, and you expect them to be competitive, and they were competitive. So you can't really blame. I mean, when you're a better team than Manchester United, you're supposed to win those games. Also, Everton lost 2-1 to Burnley, and Everton's at 7th in the league, I think, but they're not a top team in my opinion. You don't lose to Fulham and you don't lose to Burnley and expect to be a top team. They say to be a great team, you have to beat other good teams. In my opinion, to be a great team, you got to beat everyone. If you were to tell me who's a better team, Manchester United or Everton, Manchester United tie Liverpool, they tie Arsenal, but they beat Man City. That's expected. You're supposed to tie the good teams, and sometimes you're going to scrape out and get a victory against another good team. But you're not supposed to lose to Burnley. Manchester United's not going to lose to Burnley. They're not going to. They slip up here and there, but Everton, this is coming a somewhat a habitual thing where they constantly are losing to teams that they're not supposed to lose to. If you can have a slip up at Fulham, but you don't have another slip up against Burnley. So they've dipped in and out of form this year, where they've won 3-4 games in a row and then they've lost to other teams, to like Newcastle. I think they have been the most fortunate team this year. They played a Chelsea team when they beat Chelsea in Goodison. They beat them 2-0, I think. When they just got a new keeper, Chelsea did. They tied Manchester United on a last-second crazy goal. They beat Arsenal when Arsenal weren't in form. They beat Liverpool with their fifth stringers, in the game. Yeah, you got to win the games in front of you, but if you're not winning games when teams are healthy and winning easy games like a Burnley or winning easy games like a Fulham. You were talking to me Burnley last season, they lost 2-1. Okay, I can give you that. This is a Burnley team that is way off form compared to the other seasons, not playing as well. Fulham, a team battling relegation. Burnley, a team just outside of relegation. This helped them get Everton with some comfort room. So yeah, I just don't think Everton's legit. I think Everton, they're probably going to finish in the top 10, but I think they're probably going to finish 9. I don't want to spread negativity because that's not what this podcast is about, but Everton's my team. I pull for Everton. I support Everton. So it's sort of like, when you're dealing with your brother, you can make fun of him, but other people can't make fun of him. I'll always defend Everton. If someone else was chatting about him, I'll always defend them. But they can, just being honest, they cannot lose to some of these teams against Newcastle and Fulham. Another fixture that caught my eye and was sort of important, and I hoping that this team is able to get into the Champions League, and that's Liverpool. Liverpool won yesterday against Monday against Wolves 1-0. They have to make a Champions League because think about it, Liverpool in the Europa League. That's a done deal. There's no need to play the Europa League. If Liverpool make the Europa League a healthy Europa League, Virgil van Dijk, Matip, Fabinho, Henderson. It's over. There's no need to play it. I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to know who wins it. It's a waste of time to watch Liverpool in the Europa League. Maybe back in the day when they came back against Dortmund, yeah, that was cool. But now there's no need to play it. There's no need to watch it. There's no need to even air it. There's Liverpool, the champions. Usually the Europa League winner gets to chance in the Champions League next year. They need to make it where the person in second place gets Champions League next year, because that, again, as a game that it's a waste of time playing that. Because the best team in the world, is going to be playing in Europa League. Maybe not the best, but top 5 team in the world is going to be playing in Europa League. As I said, a waste of time. But in other footballing news, American footballing news, Drew Brees retired. Congratulations, Drew Brees, on a great career. I think Drew Brees gave respect to shorter quarterbacks, if that makes sense. I think Doug Flutie was the guy who sort of created the path for shorter quarterbacks, but Drew Brees made short quarterbacks respectable. I think without Drew Brees, there's still Russell Wilson, still Baker Mayfield, still Kyler Murray, but those guys are not respected. Baker Mayfield's not the number one pick in the draft without Drew Brees, in my opinion. I think he gave validity to the shorter quarterbacks, and you can win in this league with a shorter quarterback. I'm not gonna say too many things that you haven't already heard. 80,358 passing yards, won the New Orleans' first Super Bowl. Multiple Pro Bowls. I think he was the guy that he respected the game. He won the Walter Payton. I don't think he won the exact award, but he won the patch, and that's a great accomplishment. I don't think it's you winning at the Walter Payton Award doesn't make you a good person. He was the captain on his team, so clearly he had the respect of his peers. I had some divisive comments, maybe, about standing up for the flag, but let's be honest, you were standing up for the flag, and African American people were being killed, and you were standing up for it. So until it got hot, that's when you got on that train. You weren't all of a sudden this self-righteous guy. Not all of you guys. Some of you guys may have been always just self-righteous, but you guys didn't get self-righteous till it got popular. Let's give this guy a break. He apologizes. Let's move on. If someone apologizes and they screw up again, who's the guy? Who's the person that is in fault? It's them. It's not you. So I say we apologize, move on from it. I think we have moved on from it. With Drew Brees retiring, Taysom Hill got a 4-year, $140 million contract extension, which I think is earned, deserved. He was key in their scheme. Do they win as many games without Taysom Hill? No, I don't think so. And last year, without Taysom Hill, how does it work? Maybe I think Jameis does fine, but clearly Taysom Hill was doing just fine. And, $140 million, if the Saints think he's worth it, then he's worth it. I don't think you can hate on another man's money. He's well-deserved. Also saved the Saints $7.5 million in cap room by signing him. So again, another win-win contract, sort of like a Dak contract. I think the real reason why they signed him was not because they think he's the future. I think they signed him so they could, again, save $7.5 million in cap room so they could pay Jameis Winston this 1-year, $12 million contract. And this year, if there's any team that's going to be a sleeper team, not to win the Super Bowl, but to make the playoffs, I got the Saints. I think the Saints play in a decent division. I think they can beat the Buccaneers one game. I think they can sweep the Carolina Panthers. They got the third best coach in the league, who Bill Belichick, and then Andy Reid. And then I think you gotta go with Sean Payton as third best coach in the league. And I would even put if you said Sean Payton was the second best coach in the league, I'm not gonna argue with you. But in other contracts, we're getting to all the NFL offseason transactions a little later. But the next contract I want to talk about is Tom Brady's contract, and that is a no-brainer. He just won a Super Bowl. He's the GOAT. If he feels good, you sign him again. And the Buccaneers also haven't reaped the benefits of Tom Brady. I think the Buccaneers are the one team that didn't take a huge hit this year because Tom Brady, with COVID, I don't think they're the team that really took a huge hit because of COVID. I think Tom Brady really helped them out with the monies and sales of Buccaneers gear and all that. But they also haven't reaped all the benefits. You go to a Tampa Bay stadium. It's not crazy difficult to get tickets. They're not high in demand. Well, now they're going to be high in demand. I think with Tom Brady in the stands, sold out every single game. So again, no brainer to sign Tom Brady. NBA, let's get into some NBA news. Brooklyn last week, I said they may be the favorites, and they are the favorites. They're the team I'm picking to win the NBA Finals. I think we're gonna look too much into it. We saw this with Golden State. There's this guy. This team is great. They've won 13. They won 13 out of the last 14 without KD. We want to say LeBron, the Lakers, LeBron, that's great. But looks like history's going to repeat itself. Looks like LeBron's going to make the finals. He's going to have AD. I just don't see the Brooklyn Nets losing to the Lakers. They're too much. They just got too much. And as I said, when James Harden wants to lock up, he can be not a shutdown defender, but he can be a solid defender. If the Lakers want to beat the Nets, in my opinion, and become the favorites, become the favorites again, they have to sign someone. I've seen things, Larry Nance. They could sign LaMarcus Aldridge with the buyout. I think the Spurs said they want to buy him out. I think Andre Drummond's going to get bought out. I've seen some rumors with J.J. Redick. The trade things, I don't see who they're going to trade. Who are they going to trade? Jared Dudley. That's an inappropriate comment. Jared Dudley just got injured. Speedy recovery for Jared Dudley, please. Who else? Who are they gonna trade for him? I think anyone who any teams want is a key player for them. Caruso's key player, Caldwell Pope key player. I think the best chance for them is to get LaMarcus Aldridge, Andre Drummond, buy him out. The player that I think they're most likely going to get is Miles Turner. I think he's the best chance. I believe the Pacers will buy him out also, and then the Lakers will just get him. But if they're trading for Miles Turner again, who are they going to trade for? Almost every guy I'm thinking of. Quinn Cook. Do they really want Quinn Cook? They have it's a second-year guy out of Iowa State who was balling in the preseason. Maybe they can trade him. But if they can't, I'm not trading anyone on the Lakers. Everyone has a key role. You're not trading LeBron. You're not trading AD, of course. You're not trading Dennis Schroeder. So if they can get, I think the best bet is to get LaMarcus Aldridge. Safest bet. He's going to give you at least 12 points a game. And why not? If they could trade Gasol for Marc Gasol for Miles Turner, if that's something that maybe a draft pick. But I'm not really worried about the Lakers in the Western Conference. I think LeBron's got that. I'm not really worried about the Clippers at all. I'm more worried about the Denver beating the Lakers, if anything, than the Clippers. But I believe the Nets, again, I'm my front runner. Sadly, my front runner for MVP, Joel Embiid, probably won't win anymore. I don't know. They say 2 to 3 weeks. Unless he really balls out, I don't think you're gonna give an MVP. Give the MVP to a guy who was injured. I don't think it's fair for everyone else. James Harden's been balling this year, even though maybe the how Houston went down, they may not give it to him, but Joel Embiid can still win it. But if you get injured 2 to 3 weeks, miss 2 to 3 weeks of the season, that sort of takes you out of the MVP race. Winning And if you're not a winner unless you're Russell Westbrook and average a triple double, and if you get injured, you're not gonna win MVP. So I talked about this earlier. Let's get into NFL transaction. I'm just gonna highlight the most important deals I've seen so far, and this is really my first time really investigating, looking at multiple different topics and multiple different teams, and really getting into the free agency period of NFL week. We're in week 3 days. It's not week 3 days. And is it always this simple? I've never seen so many signings, non-signings, free agencies. So let's get into it. Titans signed Bud Dupree, 5-year, $85 million deal. They signed Janoris Jenkins from the Saints also. Titans need a pass rusher, and they got a pass rusher. But Janoris Jenkins, they released their first round cornerback from USC. So I guess they're replacing him, or they needed more cap room to sign Janoris Jenkins. But then the Titans lost Corey Davis. The Jets acquired him, 3-year, $37.5 million deal. Without Corey Davis, is it going to be interesting to see A.J. Brown. He's going to get way more attention because Corey Davis is a solid wide receiver. It's sort of tough to double team A.J. Brown, even though they did last season, but it was sort of tough to double team A.J. Brown when you got another solid player in Corey Davis playing with you. Just also got Carl Lawson. 3 years, $45 million deal. I like it. I like the mentality of the Jets. Getting better. Maybe this won't make you a 10-16, 11-5 team, but it shows initiative of you trying to get better and building a culture. Cultures are the most important thing in sports, I believe. I think good culture can win you 4 to 5 games in the league. And the Bills aren't going to be good forever. So you start bringing winning culture now when the time is there, and the AFC East is up for grabs. That's your opportunity to grab it, and not let the Patriots grab it, and not let the Dolphins grab it. You seize the opportunity. You get it because you've prepared for this. And to replace Carl Lawson, the Bengals got Trey Hendricks from the Saints, 4-year, $60 million deal. Ryan Fitzpatrick signs with the Washington football team. I wonder how it feels to be a journeyman in sports. I guess it's the thing I can relate to it most is, I guess, being a kid in a military family. I'm not a military family kid, but I guess that's the closest thing, moving around a lot. The Dolphins get Jacoby Brissett, 1-year, $7.5 million deal. Raiders sign Yannick Ngakoue, former Jaguar, 2-year, $26 million deal. Patriots signed 2 tight ends. Bill Belichick probably says he doesn't like outside distractions, but I definitely think him signing 2 of the top tight ends in the league on the free agency market definitely had an effect. I think he sort of read the newspapers, read everything that was going on. So we're going to get 2 tight ends. Jonnu Smith, 3-year, $37.5 million deal. Hunter Henry, 4-year, Hunter Henry, 3-year, $37.5 million deal. Jonnu Smith, 4-year, $50 million deal. They also got some more help for Cam with wide receiver talent, Nelson Aguilar, 2-year, $26 million deal. The Rams, they signed Leonard Floyd to a 4-year, $64 million deal. Denver signed Ronald Darby, 3-year, $30 million contract. Houston signed Tyrod Taylor, 1-year, $12.5 million deal. I think they're preparing for Deshaun to leave. I really do. And some Deshaun lawsuit news has been going on. I don't know enough information. Deshaun says he doesn't do it. So we gotta see what he does. He seems like a nice guy, but you never know what goes behind the scenes, man. You never know. he's going through a difficult time in his life right now. He's in a place where he doesn't want to be, and when you, in some cases, when you're in a tough space, you just dig yourself a deeper and deeper hole. I'm not saying he did it, but stuff happens like this where people try to prey on you when you're at your weakest, and hopefully he gets through this. Hopefully, justice is served either side. But yeah, Houston are preparing, I think, for Deshaun Watson to leave. Tyrod Taylor, again, $12.5 million, 1 year, $12.5 million deal, and the team with the most cap space this year, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Got Carlos Hyde, first, which is important because he's the first Ohio State guy that Urban Meyer's gotten. From Seattle, another guy that they got from Seattle was Philip Dorsett, Miami dude. They got tight end from Carolina, Chris Manhertz, 2 years, $7.25 million deal. Tyson LaLuya, 2 years, $6 million deal. Drafted by the Jags. Shaquille Griffin, 3 year, $44.5 million deal. Marvin Jones, $14.5 million deal. Also sharing up a little bit of the front seven, which is I thought was the most important thing that they should have focused on and spent almost all their money on. I didn't think we needed a wide receiver, but they got one, and Marvin Jones, happy about that. I don't think we needed tight end, but they got him, but they got Jahad Ward from the Ravens and Malcolm Brown on a 2 year, $11 million deal for Malcolm Brown. Looking at free agency, if there's a team that won, and I think the Jaguars won, they got all their team needs. Winners this year free agency so far, you still got 2-4, but yeah, I'm happy with all the signs Jags made. They said we sort of needed a tight end. I didn't think we needed one, but they got one just in case. They got another running back. Shaquille Griffin's a solid a cornerback. We already have C.J. Henderson. Yeah, man. Got some more nuts. Another pair of reliable hands. Check. Yeah, I think Jaguars by far. They had the most cap room, so they couldn't have wasted it. And yeah, Jags gonna be legit this year. Sleeper team to be in the hunt. Not the playoffs, but be in the hunt. 9-7. That's the year I think we're gonna get. But give a round of applause for everybody, setting up future generations for their family, signing big contracts. So everyone who signed a contract in NFL, if I didn't list your name, didn't list you, congratulations still. Again, setting up future generations, man. $10 million, $44.5 million, $64 million deal, making $8 million a year. You save that, put it in an account, let it grow over time. Amen. As a reminder, free agency ends at 4:00 today. No late submissions. Any late submissions where you'll get no credit for assignments. So I'm talking to two teams here, really. The Seahawks and the Ravens. They got to make some moves before the end of the day. The Seahawks signed no one on the offensive line, and clearly the reason why we're in this debacle with Russell Wilson is because of the offensive line. Even if it's not a great offensive lineman, I would have paid someone just to say, hey, Russell, we hear you. Stay here. We don't want to. But I haven't seen anything. They re-signed Poona Ford. He's a solid player. Undrafted, one of the better players. But you got to do something. The Ravens, I think I said last week, the Ravens need a wide receiver. It was clear Hollywood Brown is not enough to win you a game. Good player, but not enough. You can't waste these years because you're going to have to pay Lamar sooner or later. So wouldn't you rather want to pay enough money for a guy now before you have to pay Lamar big bucks? Again, yeah, they have till 4 o'clock. Both teams have till 4 o'clock today. I guess Ravens are saying they draft one, but you gotta get a wide receiver, Ravens. You gotta show that you're trying, Seahawks. It's just, man. I just don't agree with their methods. But they're the professional organization. They're the GMs. They know more than me. I'm just a guy in college doing a podcast for fun who's watched sports for 15 years. I know way more than them. Always know that. You know way more than the general manager of a guy who trained for this his whole life. Always believe in yourself. Anyways, another team that I didn't talk about that didn't make any moves were Dallas. They didn't make any moves because they didn't need to make any moves. The reason why Dallas are so good now is because they prepare for this. A lot of criticism goes to Dallas because they're America's team. And people say, they say a bunch of other stuff, but nah, they're just haters. Jerry Jones, they get a lot of hate. Jerry Jones, they say he needs to be an owner, not a GM. Well, I think if you had Dallas's roster, you'd be pretty happy. If your team had Dallas's roster, if you're the Detroit Lions, you'd be pretty happy with the roster that Dallas has. Who has a better roster than them? The Bucks? Maybe. The Rams? Bills? They have a top 5 running back in Ezekiel. Offensively, they have a top 5 running back in Ezekiel Elliott. They have one of the best wide receiving corps in the National Football League. Who has a better wide receiving corps? The Browns, maybe. Odell Beckham's hurt, and they run the ball most of the times. The Bucks? Maybe the Chiefs. They have a good O-line. On defense, they have a solid front seven, leading the defense to Marcus Lawrence and Jalen Smith. The biggest weakness on defense and biggest weakness on the team, I believe, is the secondary. Last year they drafted Trayvon Diggs, who seems to be a solid player, and they're probably going to get Caleb Fairley from Virginia Tech this year. And they already have Anthony Brown. We look at this and say, again, you could criticize Jerry Jones and say he's not a good GM, you stick to owning, but hey, man. I'm just saying, if you're going to criticize a guy, at least be polite about it. I'm not going to say stay in your lane, but if you're going to get in another lane, at least turn your blinker and be polite about it and criticize someone. People just, cutting people off in traffic. But this guy has the top 5 at minimum. I think he really has a top 3 with Boston in the league. If there's a team, I know probably everyone says that if there's a team who's going to be a sleeper team this year in the NFL, I think it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. Earlier I said the Saints are going to be a sleeper team in the playoffs. Dallas Cowboys are easily the sleeper team if they are a sleeper team to win the Super Bowl. One of the better rosters, easy division. Maybe I could be lost in the hype, but I'm looking at the other rosters in the league. They definitely have a better roster than the Chiefs. The only thing the Chiefs have is they have maybe the 3 players, the best players out of the 2, but clearly you need a lot more than just 3 really solid players, But Champions League this week, Real Madrid beat Atalanta. Manchester City beat Borussia Mönchengladbach. And yeah, that's expected. Real Madrid, I expect a better game at Atalanta, I'll be honest with you on that one. I thought Atalanta was going to come out a little bit more attacking. I thought they were going to score some goals, put a little bit more pressure on Real Madrid, but Real Madrid handled great. Sergio Ramos is still top center back in the world. Varane, another top center back, doesn't get enough credit. Manchester City beat Mönchengladbach. Disrespect for Manchester City. The problem is when they get to the quarterfinals, when they get to the semifinals, what's going to happen? It's never been a question. Are they going to get out the quarterfinals? Get out the group stage? Are they going to get out the first round? No, the problem's always been, can they get out the quarterfinals? Can they beat a team that they're supposed to be in the quarterfinals? Because when you look at it, they always get a easy draw. Lyon should have beat Lyon last year. Year before that, who did they lose to? I don't remember, but I remember they lost to Spurs the year before that. It may have been the year before that because COVID sort of messed things up. Yeah, the year before they lost to Spurs, and the year before that they beat a good Liverpool side, but Liverpool were nowhere near where they were the past 2 years. But, problem's always been getting past the quarterfinal and making it to the semifinal. The last time they made the semifinal, I think they lost to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid didn't even, and Manchester City didn't even have Pep. So let's get into some predictions for the week. Again, this is not a huge week. It is a big week. Again, you have March Madness with Gonzaga. With March Madness with Gonzaga, but March Madness is pretty much the main objective, and I'm not going to go through every single one of those games. But today you have Champions League. Bayern Munich play Lazio. Bayern Munich gonna go through. Already 4-1 up on away goals on aggregate. If a miracle does happen, it would be the biggest collapse in Champions League history, in my opinion. I think PSG, Barcelona was a better team than PSG, even though they were down 4-0 in their match. But Bayern Munich gonna advance against Lazio. Chelsea play Atletico Madrid. Chelsea 1-0 up. I think Atletico Madrid are gonna come back and win 2-1, advance on away goals. Chelsea also plays Sheffield United this weekend for the FA Cup. I think Chelsea won 2-0 there. Sort of a bounce back game for them. And speaking of FA Cup, Bournemouth plays Southampton. I got Southampton winning 3-0. Manchester City plays Everton. You know how I feel about Everton right now. Manchester City, I think, win 3-0. Manchester United play Leicester City. I think Manchester United win 1-0. I think this is another bounce back game for them. Like Chelsea. I think they don't lose to AC Milan today. I think they tie, tomorrow. I think they tie them 0-0. And AC Milan will go through on away goals. And as I said earlier, March Madness starts tomorrow. And I got Gonzaga for the history, man. I like history. I like greatness. For some reason, I won't say I always pull for the Patriots when they play the Jaguars, but I always like greatness. I always like seeing greatness. I always like seeing LeBron win. I don't love to see the Alabama win, but I don't mind when Alabama wins because I like greatness. So, for the history and for greatness, I got Gonzaga. That's about it today, guys. This is a shorter podcast. Shout out to Beyonce, shout out to Meg Thee Stallion for those Grammys they won the other day. Black excellence at its finest. It shows you can do it in different ways. Beyonce won it, I guess, in a more quote-unquote elegant style. But being yourself does prevail always. Megan Thee Stallion seems like she's herself all the time. And Beyonce seems like she's herself all the time. And being yourself will always work out in the end. This is a sports podcast, though. I'm not here to preach to you guys. I'm here to tell you guys about sports. And if it relates to life, it relates to life. So, again, thank you guys for listening. It's Kamal Daniels, episode 3, Peng Sports podcast. It will be up soon, later today. Thank you guys again. Remember, catch it on YouTube, catch it on SoundCloud. Check for posts on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you guys one more time. And this is Kamal Daniels signing off. And one more thing, you guys. New article coming out Friday on who is the best African footballing team in the world right now. Again, coming out Friday. I think it's going to be around 12:05. That was a good time last time. 12:05, new article, best team in Africa. I'm analyzing Senegal, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Algeria, and Nigeria. Those are the 5 teams who I think are the best 5 teams in Africa. Check that article out on pengsports.co. Friday, 12:05.